Hello and welcome to Three Questions with my buddy Paul with us from Centrend. Good afternoon, Paul. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Kevin, for having me on.
So, Paul, let's just jump right in and let's talk about bad things today. Chuckle, chuckle. Let's start with cybersecurity, because it's so important. And I find a lot of my small business owner friends like me working in the basement of my home. Paul, who's coming for me, buddy? I'm safe, right?
That's a common myth. Seriously, it's the bigger companies that think they have a concern, but the smaller target is an easy target. So the best thing I can offer there is I recommend a multi-layered security plan with firewalls, antivirus, regular updates as the foundation for good protection because you're not too small to be attacked.
And worse, Paul, if someone gets to my customer data, God forbid I'm keeping, credit card numbers, social security numbers, I'm probably out of business, all kidding aside. I mean, I probably don't have the insurance protection enough to, to survive that. It's gonna have a
For
bad
sure.
impact on me.
That's right. Most businesses cannot afford a cyber attack. And a lot of businesses that have cyber insurance to protect them against that don't even understand the questions. So they check the boxes and say, yeah, here you go. But the
Yep.
reality is the insurance company doesn't have to pay if you're not actually running your IT environment the way you've indicated there. That's a reason not to pay. So there's a false sense of security
Yep.
created sometimes from insurance. I definitely recommend insurance, but you have to have it validated by a professional IT person.
So, Paul, I'm just chuckling at the last next thing because the cloud. I
Oh,
remember, being in banking when someone first mentioned the cloud. I'm like, what is it? Like, you think like I'm looking out the window of my house, a cloud, that's a cloud to me, like in the sky. Like my joke was I would joke with the IT people, Paul, if it rains, do I lose all my files? You
you
know,
know what's funny about that, Kevin? That's awesome you bring that up. So I have a large family. I have six children and four girls. And one day, one of my little girls said to me, we were talking about cloud, my wife and I, not that she's in IT, she's not. She just listens to me, right? And well, Daddy, you can't work today because if your stuff's in the cloud and it's sunny out.
right? But again, all kidding aside, we're seeing more and more people say, hey, move everything to the cloud.
Right.
But are there risks associated with that?
Well, the common myth, though, is that the cloud is less secure when it can actually be much more secure. If you ever looked at one of the data centers where Amazon servers or Google hosted services are, it's like Fort Knox. You're not getting in there without an armed force.
Hmm.
So they're physically secure, but then the technology that they put into the perimeter security and the firewalling and the intrusion detection systems just can't be beat. There's no way a small business can have the quality and the quantity of security applied to it that the cloud has. So the cloud is definitely very secure, but it's not always the right solution. A lot of times there are reasons to keep an on-prem service, and the worst thing you can do is make that decision based on what you hear. Just because it's right for one business doesn't mean it's right for another. And companies like mine at Centrend, we can help you decide if the cloud is the way to go for you, whether you're worried about security or data accessibility or just generally good efficiency and cost effectiveness.
So, Paul, one of the fights I had when I worked in IT is the balance between security and running a business. You know,
Right.
simple thing back then, like I'm like, no, you can't be accessing social media. You can't be doing this. I tried to lock everything down so tight
Right.
because it was my job if something bad happened. But they're like, Kev, we got to run a business too. We need to, I'd have that firewall so tight that you couldn't
Yeah.
get anywhere, and they're like, dude, we got this is a legitimate site we have to use. How do you find a
Sure.
balance? That's the
Sure.
biggest
That's a great.
question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And one of the challenges is there's no end to this, right? You can think of it as the locks in your house at home. You can have just a little thumb lock, right, on your doorknob. You can have a deadbolt. You could have bars on the doors, right, with reinforced um, trim.
Yeah.
You could have, you could add security cameras, and you could add alarm systems, and you could add armed guards if you're,
Mm,
wealthy enough to do
yeah,
so.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's risk and there's benefit, and you really need to look at where is your stuff, how secure does it need to be, and you need to do things to protect the data when it's not being stolen physically or being stolen through the web. In other words, encryption. Encrypt that data so that if someone does get in, either physically or virtually, they can't do anything with the data.
That makes sense. So, Paul, if people have further questions, they want to talk about security, what's the best way to reach out to you to learn more?
Yeah, they can reach out to me at centrend.com, CENTREND.com, or they can call us at our main number at 508-347-9550.
Paul, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to call into the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
Hey, thanks a lot, Kevin. Appreciate it.